Welcome to a boxing moment. Tonight, or this afternoon, we'll be talking about our man Crawford, and he has a big fight coming up. But we have a couple other fights. We got a pound-to-pound discussion, and we got Big Baby in the news. But before I get started, I want to let you all know that you need to go to realsportsguys.com for all things real sports guys, RSG. You can catch our social media platforms, connect there. We're evolving, putting our video podcast there. As well as we're beginning to do a blog on there. So we're going to be growing that site. And so go support us there. That will really drive some stuff for us. Leave a review. We love fives or just great comments to help us keep pushing at this every day. A boxing moment is our opportunity to boxing has always been a thread that's been part of our RSG discussion from the beginning. It's something that we've always taken an interest in. And now with the addition of my man, Darnell Kirkland, who is moving off the super intern to just Darnell. He's growing, although in our last podcast, if you have a chance to see it, be dropping, he may have had his privileges revoked. But anyway, we are back in business. We got some big fights on. And so at this moment, I always turn it over to the youngin. All right, Darnell, what's up?
As you know, as he already introduced, we have the fight coming up this week. Terence Crawford versus AMIR Khan. What do you think is going to happen, and who do you think is going to win?
AMIR Khan is a fighter that has so much promise and has so much hope, but has demonstrated some of the most devastating losses. Like 3 of his 4 losses have all been to some devastating KOs in some senses. He's had some spectacular knockouts, but he's also knocked people out. One thing we know about AMIR Khan, you're going to get this. You're going to get a guy with great hand speed. This is a former Olympian. This guy's got a lot of rounds. He doesn't get really shook, I would say, by the big moment. I think part of his big problem is he gets over-aggressive, that he has not figured out how to manage his skills in these big fights and puts himself in harm's way. The loss with Canelo, he was hitting Canelo with some blows, but he overexposes. He has his chin out there. He hooks he throws the wrong punch at the wrong time. It's one of those things where it's a split second where if he ever put together, this is a guy that went toe to toe with Zab Judah. I mean, this guy has skills beyond skills, but at the end of the day, he's going against my man Terence Bud Crawford. I've been watching him from day one in Nebraska, building the momentum he's out of the heartland. He's a straight beast. I think one of the things that Bud has got to be careful with someone like Khan is don't play too much. Sometimes he likes to play a little bit, get in there and do it. He's got to really have his business up with a guy like Khan. Khan's not somebody to be messed with. But I think this is the fight I'll probably end, probably about a 6-7 round with one of them knockouts what he just did with Benavidez Jr. One of them knockouts where he catch him and he falls like somebody shot him in the leg again. So that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a great fight. It's going to be entertaining. But at the end of the day, Bud Crawford is too much of a dog.
Do you think the comeback of Virgil Hunter, do you think him being back in AMIR Khan's corner, do you think that will affect the fight any, or do you think that will give him a little more guidance or discipline in this fight?
That's the one thing I love about this fight. It makes me a little bit, if you're a Crawford fan, a little bit nervous. Virgil Hunter, the one thing that Virgil Hunter is a calming sense and feature. The other thing that Virgil's really good with fighters is getting them to find their tempo and pace. And the one thing you need with Khan, if Khan ever just finds it, in boxing, you got to find out like your zone. How do you fight? That's what makes Floyd. So Floyd never gets sped up. You always talk about a point guard. Great point guards never get sped up. You can never speed up Chris Paul. Great boxers, I think that same way. You can never get them to fight out of the tempo they want to fight, especially the top boxers, the pound for pounds. And one of the things I think for Khan is where he's lost in these big fights is he ends up getting sped up into the other person's fight. He loses control of what that tempo is. And I think having someone like Virgil Hunter and the way he's been working with him is, I think, the one chance that he has is that if Virgil can get him to fight in his pace and his lane and just jab and use his hand speed, then he can win by points because he's got hand speed. You know, he could upset on that way because nobody ever questions Khan's hand speed and his boxing ability. They just question decision making at key times where he kind of loses focus that ends up costing him out of a devastating loss. And I think that's where having an elite trainer like Virgil Hunter can make a difference.
So with the fight we all know about, everybody's been talking about Terence Crawford fighting this week. A fight that we have flown under the radar.
No, you didn't make your prediction.
I did not make my prediction because I made my prediction in the other show, so I'm sorry. But my prediction is –
this is your main show. You got to make it on this one.
Yeah,
what you got?
My prediction is I'm going Crawford by middle round stoppage, either TKO or full on knockout. I think Crawford. I think Amir Khan will have success in the early rounds because of his speed, and also on top of that, Terence Crawford is notoriously a slow starter in his fights. But one thing I mentioned in the other show was Amir Khan. He's a guy. He's really fast, good hand speed, but he throws all of his punches are at the same speed and at the same strength. Like, he doesn't necessarily, like we talked with Hank yesterday, he doesn't necessarily have a changeup. He doesn't have a breaking ball. He doesn't have the 12-6 curve. He doesn't have the slider. He just has the fastball. And after the rounds rounds 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, after rounds like that go by, Terence Crawford's going to begin to time him. He's going to figure out what he's going to do. He's going to make adjustments. And when he makes adjustments, I don't think Amir Khan will be able to make adjustments to counter the adjustments that Crawford's going to make. So Crawford will be victorious.
All right. There you go. You've been hot lately, so I'm going to go with you.
But one thing we haven't been hearing about, I don't think I've seen a single interview, a single commercial, but Danny Garcia is fighting Adrian Granados tomorrow as well on Showtime, I believe. I think it's Showtime or Fox. I know it's a PBC card, but they're fighting on the same day. Nobody knows about it, I guess.
Nobody knows the trouble Danny's seen.
This fight is equally as interesting to me because even though a lot of people might not know who Adrian Granados is, I believe the matchup in styles, Danny Garcia should be the more skilled fighter and the fighter that should come out with the victory. But in my opinion, don't be surprised if you see Danny Garcia get upset tomorrow night because Adrian Granados is a very good pressure fighter. He has different styles. He can fight on the inside and he can box a little bit. But he can fight. He's really good. He is unheralded. He's not widely known, but he can really fight. Like, he knows what he's doing in there. We saw he upset Amir Imam. He knocked him out when people were talking about him. But he's a rough and rugged guy. He's coming for 12 rounds. He's not going to give up. So I think this is a potentially bad matchup for Danny Garcia.
Yeah, he's an interesting – Granados is an interesting guy out of Chicago. Watched him fight Adrian Broner, and he gave Adrian Broner all he could handle.
Lost that.
Yeah, I mean, you could make an argument that Broner lost. I think we got robbed, and he was upset at the end of that fight because he was a busier fighter. And that might have been right before Broner's string of losses. But you could see he was –
That was in the middle of it.
He was coming with a lot of energy, fight. He's got got good boxing pedigree, and he's not afraid of the big moment. He's not somebody who's going to get shook by being in these spaces. So he's a tough one. Going up against a Philly fighter, I think the Chicago Philly matchup is going to be. I think it is going to be an exciting fight. If you got your TV, you might have one TV over on Showtime and one on this pay-per-view thing. But you're right. I don't even know about it. You're right. I mean, Showtime didn't do anything to really hype that fight at all, on anybody's radar. So you're right. When you brought it up on the rundown, I was like, wow, that's a good fight. I looked again, like, that's a good fight, but, you know, I didn't even hear it out, you know, other than you bringing it up. So it is a fight that people should definitely check out.
Oh, and another thing, I know it's not in the rundown, but I'm just gonna speed by this real quick. On the Crawford and Khan undercard, we have both of the prospects, both of the top-ranked prospects are fighting. We have Teofimo Lopez. He's fighting on there. I don't know who he's fighting. I don't know. But Shakur Stevenson is fighting Christopher Diaz, Abel Sanchez fighter. It's going to be a pretty good step-up fight. He's levels above the fighters that Stevenson has been fighting before. And Bob Arum said that he didn't want him to make this fight. He didn't want to make this fight, but Shakur Stevenson is pushing for the fight because he wants to move up in the rankings. So that's something to look forward to.
And you said he called out Gervonta?
He called out Gervonta Davis. He made he was in an interview where he said he's looking to move up to 130 in the near future, and the first name and the name he really wants to fight is Gervonta Davis. How do you think that will play out?
That could be a good fight, but Gervonta is getting the doggish level right now. He getting into that Crawford dome right now. I don't think you want to don't bark up that tree. You don't want it to fall on you. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it. And it might be one of them fights. You know, you and I've talked about this. This is what being young in this generation is not a good thing. Is because sometimes you need to let it marinate. And I love watching some of these young boxers who understand that. Is that, you know, great boxers are built. That's one thing I love about Crawford, even the way they built Crawford. And he was able to build his home base, is that there's an art to building a boxing career. And I think Gervonta is really learning that from being with Floyd. And you notice him, he's kind of backed off a little bit of he just found the plan. And I think this could be a great fight, but if Shakur keeps if they keep pushing for it, Stevenson keeps pushing for it, it's going to happen sooner than he needed to happen. And, you know, sometimes just waiting a year more can get a fighter like that more ready for something like this.
Okay, so first
when you
off,
fight on the undercard of Garcia, you ain't ready for that moment. Like, that should be a telltale sign for you right now.
Oh, but at the same time, Gervonta Davis was just fighting on undercard. His last card was his first headliner. He was fighting on Broner undercard.
Yeah, but he fought on the Floyd's card. Yeah. I mean, he's been in the limelight to me much more. So you got to argue like he's a brand name. There's more non-boxing fans who know him, right?
Yeah,
he's fought some good fighters. Well, okay.
Nah, not really. Gervonta Davis.
Both of them, I'm gonna tell you right now, Gervonta is ready for a pay-per-view fight right now. You can't say it.
In a year, Shakur Stevenson is gonna be ready, in my opinion.
In a year, but Gervonta is ready right now.
I see something in Shakur Stevenson. I believe he's a more poised fighter than Gervonta Davis is.
I understand that, but is he ready for a pay-per-view right now?
He's not ready right now. He's not talking about right. If you listen to his quote, he's not talking about he wants to fight next week. He wants to fight when he moves up to 130, which is probably going to be next year or the year after that. He's not looking for the fight.
But he can't carry a pay-per-view even at 130 by next year.
You're not talking about carrying a pay-per-view. You're talking about fighting you in the ring.
But that's Gervonta's next fights are going to be pay-per-view fights.
His next fight is not going to be a pay-per-view.
All right, okay.
All right. Before we get to that,
we got this on tape.
You talked about the marination stage of boxing.
Yeah.
And this is one thing I have to disagree with you on. Because when we look back in history, the great fighters, they did not marinate nothing. First of all,
they did?
When Tommy Hearns fought Sugar Ray Leonard, you want to guess how old they were?
Well, how many fights did they have? How many amateur fights did they have?
You know when Tommy Hearns fought Sugar Ray Leonard, how old was Thomas Hearns?
I'm asking you how many fights did they have? What were the records?
22. Sugar Ray was 25.
What were the records?
When Ali fought Sonny Liston, how old was he?
What were the records?
Ali had like 18, 20 fights when he fought.
But those was 20 quality fights.
Quality fights.
At least 5 or 6 quality fights before he fought.
He didn't.
I mean, by the time Hearns and Sugar Ray fought, they had fought at least a few quality fights. That would have been the kind of fights today that would have been pay-per-view.
All right, when Ray Leonard fought Roberto Duran, how many quality fights did we have before then?
How many fights did you tell me?
He said, "You tell me."
You looking right at it.
It's not the same.
He had a lot of quality fights. Plus, he had already been a gold medalist.
Sometimes the early loss is not the worst thing for a boxer's career.
He had quality fights before that.
Sometimes the early loss isn't the worst thing in the world. You learn, you get experience.
But why take them when you don't have to?
You said if you're
why not be at the weight you're at and dominate that weight? Why go up to 130?
Who? Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson is a big featherweight.
I know.
Have you seen this? I have to show you this picture of Shakur Stevenson and Terence Crawford, and Shakur Stevenson is dang near the same size. He is like an inch shorter.
Then tell him to jump all the way up and don't jump up to get beat down.
That's what he said. He said he wanted.
All right. Okay, don't ask for it.
He not.
Javante gonna be looking at the camera like, I'm Javante Davis. Y'all know who I am. You know who I am. You gonna look at him like he's Patrick Beverly.
Right. But when Mike Tyson fought Larry Holmes and Trevor Burbitt, he wasn't nothing but 19 years old.
But by that point, he had like 18 fights.
Yeah,
19 fights. But in the heavyweight division, that's a good run. There ain't that many heavyweights.
How many featherweights are there right now?
There's enough. That's a tough division.
Featherweight is not that tough.
They got good people in that division. A lot of folks are
you have Gary Russell and you have Santa Cruz. Everybody else is trash.
But no, name all the other guys. You call them trash, but name them. You know them. Who else is in the division?
Cuellar, Abdul Mares. They ain't messing with Shakur Stevenson.
Those are still solid professionals. What you talking about?
Stevenson whooping.
Everybody gonna be a superstar. Those are all good fighters.
Tank is whooping all of them.
Come on, man. You sleeping with the enemy. Sleeping with the enemy. What you been doing?
Oh man, that's my opinion.
You better be glad it's Good Friday.
It's Good Friday, but also with the news we about to share with you guys, it is a bad Friday because Jarrell Big Baby Miller, after all that talking he was doing, saying Anthony Joshua he gets growth hormone exemption or something like that. He gets a testosterone exemption. He takes all these kind of drugs and stuff. And he comes out, he tests positive for HGH. He said he tests positive for cardarine or something like that. It's a long name of a drug. The other thing, he failed 2 tests for this go around. Where does this leave Anthony Joshua, and what do you think about Jarrell Miller after this?
First of all, you fighters don't come to the mic no more talking all that junk if you know you got some skeletons in your closet. First of all, why are you a heavyweight worrying about that right now? Like I could say, if we were talking about off air, I could see if you were a middleweight, welterweight, you're walking around weight, it's real hard to come down. They got you fighting, welterweight, you should probably be fighting super middleweight. There's some times where just things like that are tough. And so I'm not, advocating any of this stuff, but you're a heavyweight. You can eat whatever you want to eat. You could be whatever you want to be. You power. You talking about you power and all this other stuff. Like, what is all this about? Now, he might have said he had an injury trying to recover. I don't know what it is. He had somebody put something in his grits. I don't know. His greens, hog maw got spoiled. I don't know what it is. But Brooklyn ain't standing up. What?
Well, sometimes you look at them highlight tapes. You look at you looking on Instagram. You see Anthony Joshua over there working out and stuff. You're like, oh man, I might have to take something.
Don't be talking about him taking nothing. Talk about everything else but him taking something. If you know you're gonna take something. I mean, I'm so disappointed in him. I was so hopeful for him, and I just disappointed people missing opportunities. All these people fighting for opportunities. You got an opportunity in your own backyard. Yeah, they was giving Anthony Joshua all this love, but it was in your own backyard, your opportunity to shock the world. And then you just wasted away on a poor decision like this. I don't know what else to tell him. I don't know what else to say, man. I'm just so for Anthony Joshua, the move is they're gonna have to, try to make this Wilder fight. Wait to see what happens. I don't know if he's gonna try and get somebody to come in and take the place of that on that fight date, or try to just,
fight somebody that's not that good and stretch
he's
it.
not trying to do that just to stay busy. But, they got to. At this point, he's got to make that Wilder fight happen, because he was hoping for. This was his time to come and debut in the States, and he want this, this spectacular knockout over a really good fighter. That would just really hype the fight. Now to have somebody subpar, can you get Ortiz or somebody like that? Because they haven't fought before. Can you get Ortiz?
They could get Ortiz if Ortiz wants to do the fight.
Yeah. Then they have a common opponent. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
They got a common opponent to build on. That would be something I would probably look at doing. And he's a draw, because people know he only one punch away. And they saw what he did to Wilder even before he went down, so they know he's going to be game. But I don't know if he want that business, because Ortiz ain't going to be out there talking. He might, if he ever say he might be in Spanish, but he ain't going to be out there talking like that. He's going to be bringing them hands. And if he touch you with them paws too. He can hurt you. So Joshua hasn't been beyond being hurt. But I think that would be a good fight. If he can make that fight happen, then that would be a common opponent that they could really build some momentum on.
Yeah, and it's a good name. It's a good name to put on your resume, because we saw what he did with Wilder, but at the same time, Ortiz getting old. He's getting old fast. So you can catch him on 5 weeks' notice. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He gotta hurry up and start training.
That's right.
In shape. You young, you athletic. Go ahead and shine. But
and it's still gonna have a buzz too.
That's gonna.
Yep, it's still gonna have a buzz. People gonna show up for that fight.
Yeah, people still come out, because people came out to his fight with Wilder at Barclays Center.
Yeah.
They know who he is out in New York, so that could be something. But moving on, my favorite fighter had an announcement to make. But before I get to this, I know we missed a couple weeks, so I missed something that I was going to say a few weeks ago. But Canelo Alvarez, he says by the end of this year, he wants to become undisputed at the middleweight division. So he says, okay, I'll be happy to fight Triple G later on this year, but he has to get a belt. And by process of elimination, who else has a belt? Because Canelo Alvarez has 2 belts. Danny Jacobs has another one. So that's 3, and they're fighting. So who has the other belt? Demetrius Andrade. So Demetrius Andrade is willing to fight Triple G. He's been calling him out for years. I mean, not years, but like a year, a little over a year. And Triple G, he turns around. Guess who he's fighting? Guess who he announced that he's fighting? Steve Jelly Rose. Steve Rose, man. This dude is a 35-year-old prospect. This dude is 35 years old. He's never fought a 12-round fight. His first 10-round fight was this year. I'm not saying he's never been in a fight that has lasted that long. He's never been scheduled for a 10-round fight. This dude has been fighting 6- and 8-round fights his whole career. And he's 35, from Canada. I got to give respect, because when I looked him up, because, everybody got to look him up. You see the name, even Paulie Malignaggi. Teddy Atlas had to Google this guy. I mean, come on now. I got to give him respect, because in this picture on a Wikipedia or a BoxRec, he had a picture with the Crunk Gym shirt. So I got to give respect, Detroit 313. But this dude is a 35-year-old prospect, and Triple G is going to have his first fight on the zone against Steve Egg Rose. Come on, man.
You've been on this Triple G thing and ducking. Like, you've been unpacking this stuff you've been unpacking this stuff like the Washington Post been on Trump. You've been like Rachel Maddow been on Trump. You've been unpacking this, man. You've been breaking down. You shown us a new side of Triple G we haven't even thought about. I can give it to you, man. You've been on this one.
It's the hypocrisy of Triple G, because he is the quote-unquote boogeyman. Nobody wants to fight him. He can be anybody from 154 to 168. He's never moved up a division. They say he's better than Hagler. They say HBO came out with the best middleweights of the last 30 years, and they had him number 1. That is over Roy Jones Jr. He never moved up one weight class. he could have fought Froch. He could have fought Andre Ward. He could have fought Arizona Lord. There's so many names he's been kind of walking around, kind of fighting guys around them. He when Canelo Alvarez tested positive, because we were talking about testing positive earlier, Canelo tested positive. Guys stood up and they said, "I'll fill in." Jenny Jacobs said he'll fill in. Demetrius Andre said he'll fill in. Charlo said he'll fill in. He turned around and fought Vanes Monterosa, a 154-pound fighter that lost to everybody at 154. He lost to Laura. He lost to Andre. He lost to the smaller Charlo. He lost to everybody. Oh my goodness. And here's the kicker. Vanes Monterosa used to be a sparring partner of Triple G. Oh man.
Ooh, this is awesome. This is on some Trumpian Putin stuff.
Oh man. Triple G.
He using as George Bush used to say, that funny math.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh, man.
Is there anything we missed? Any?
I think we got it, man. We'll just to come back. We're looking to get Doug Fisher on probably after this Crawford fight to help us set the scene for the landscape for boxing. So we hope to add him back in here with myself and Darnell. I'm looking forward to having that happen.
All right. Sounds good. Peace.
Peace out, y'all.